Peace and blessings, family. It is yours truly, Amar Mari. I am the founder of El Kevlar Community Alliance, where we focus on your spiritual, your physical, and your financial well-being. My queen, Amani Mari, is the co-founder, and I thank everybody so much for your continued love and support. We greatly appreciate those who come on the programs and you not only just watch, you participate. I greatly appreciate that. My queen greatly appreciates that. And we also appreciate those who share and invite. Sharing truly is caring. Is not a cliche to me. Nothing is corny about that at all. Because, pardon me, please, love inspires us to care. And the way that we show that we care is not only what we do, is what we say as well. And it's all inclusive. And we're going to talk about how can we get love to be common within our community. I'm going to talk about myself because I'm very familiar with my life, of course, right? Because I live with myself, correct? And when it comes to my family, it's not that we don't have issues, we do. Love helps us to conquer all. Love covers a multitude of wrongs. And my family taught us how to love each other. Had it not been for my elders in my family, I would not be the man I am today. And so the social ill that we have in regards to selfishness, hatred of self, that is ourselves individually and collectively, it all goes back to the mind. I was taught to love by observation and also by instruction. I felt love via experience. So nothing about love is uncommon to me because I was taught it, I experienced it, and I disseminated love. So there's nothing uncommon about me seeing about my elders, my peers, and the younger generation because that's the atmosphere that I was raised in. Anything outside of that, it is not uncommon to me because unfortunately I've seen other families in chaos. Okay? However, that's all I know is love because of the love that my mother gave to me and my grandmother and my aunties and my uncles, and the love I received from my cousins because of what our mothers taught us in our adolescent years. And so I think about my cousins because I was taught to care about them because they are my family. My mothers, and I say mothers because, you have your grandmother. I have spiritual moms as well. However, my auntie, Queen Esther Young, is like my mother too. And when my mother was incarcerated, and we give thanks for my mother being freed, okay, she experienced time because she defended herself, okay? And so I know what that's like to have a loved one to be incarcerated as well. And they were just simply defending themselves. Okay. I know what that's like. And I know what it is like to experience a dysfunctional family. Although we had love in our family, there was still some things that we had to overcome as a family. So I don't want to paint this perfect picture for you like as if though I don't know what it is to experience mental trauma due to experiences that we had. Okay, I will not expound on certain things because certain things should not be disclosed. However, just know that I know what it is to experience trauma. Okay, now this I will disclose is that my father told me at the age of 5 years old that he didn't want to see me anymore. Okay, and believe it or not, at 5 years old, I really couldn't comprehend, you know, I know what that meant. I didn't want to, I didn't want to see you anymore, but it didn't affect me like it affected some. Like I started crying or, I felt worthless or anything like that. Due to the love that I received from my mother and my grandmother, my aunties, as I said earlier, and my grandfather, okay, and my grandmothers, they love me, man. They love me. They were there for me during some tough times. They chastised me when I needed to be chastised. And because of the love that I received, it molded me into the man that I am, inclusive with my own choices that I had to make after I was taught wise information. So I had to implement what I had learned. And when I didn't implement what was wise, the life of a fool is hard, you see. And I experienced some things in my life. And because I had people who mentored me, it helped me to go in the right direction again, inclusive with my choices, because I was taught the right way to go, but I still had a choice to go the right way or the wrong way, of course. And even when I messed up, my family, they didn't support the wrong that I did, but they still loved me. Chastisement at the time is not a good feeling. But afterwards, as the verse says, it brings a peaceableness over your life because you know that somebody loved you enough to correct you. And let me be honest with you today, as a grown man, a 43-year-old man, looking back over my life, I'm so grateful that my family loved me enough to chastise me. And I'm not regretful at all of receiving the whoopings and the punishments and the verbal chastisement. I'm so grateful for that because it saved my life. It literally saved my life. I remember when I was working at McDonald's and Burger King, and it was coming close to the time for me to graduate high school. And my grandmother, she told me, she said, son, she said, either you're going to go into the military or you're going to college. She said, but you are not staying around here so you can die in these streets. My mother, my Auntie Queen, and my Uncle Ronnie said, son, you need to go into the military. You need to do something. You need to go in college. You need to do something. But we're not going to allow you to stay around here and die in these streets. You're better than that. The reason why a lot of our people are in the situation that they are in, I truly believe it's because they didn't have someone to love them and to pour into their lives. Not that. That's everybody's situation. But for the most part, and outside of being unlawfully convicted, okay, for the most part, a lot of our people are in the state that they're in because, unfortunately, they have not received that loving teaching that I'm aware of. Now, I made some poor choices, but let me say this. I wasn't a drug dealer and I wasn't a gangster because I was taught to be that, okay? And my family influenced me to do those type of things that I did that is of criminal nature. No, Amar chose to do the wrong thing, hanging around the wrong people, listening to the wrong stuff, okay? So it wasn't that Amar wasn't taught right. So this is the reason why I argue in some cases it's not because of poor parenting. So I don't want to make this a blanketed message and try to make everybody all inclusive in that matter. Okay, because I do know from personal experience, due to friends being raised by good parents and them still making poor choices, and some of us even almost lost our lives. And our parents taught us right. Okay, I'm talking about, I know I got friends personally, I know their parents raised right. In fact, I had friends who got in trouble, okay, who was doing the wrong thing, and both of their parents was involved in their life. Okay? So I would never say that it's always the absence in every case. But in some cases, in this particular case, due for the sake of argument, some don't know what love looks like and they don't think about us as a people because they haven't been taught to think that way. See, not to insult your intelligence, I just want to make us aware of these things for those who I hear speak so angrily about the conduct of our people. And I think sometimes that we have to take a step back for a minute and get our thoughts together, because if we're not careful, including myself, we will speak on situations ignorantly, not knowing the whole matter before we come to a conclusion. I think it's imperative for us to do that so that way we can come to a conclusion about a thing intelligently and wisely and not speak ignorantly and offend. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go back to what I had aforementioned, which is the teaching piece. We live the way we think. And the way we think, we are taught, again, by observation, experience, and instruction. Okay, those are the ways you're going to learn in life. There's no way around observation, experience, and instruction. Okay? Now, the reason why I have a African-centered mindset, believe it or not, at Pentecostal Miracle Deliverance Center Church back in Rochester, New York, where I was born and raised at, inclusive with my family members, okay, my elders, taught us to be proud of our culture. So I never wrestled with that. Okay? And so the reason why it's common for me, it comes as second nature for me to think about us, okay, is because, first of all, I've been set free from selfishness. Because at one point in my life, I'm not going to sit up here and talk like I wasn't thinking about myself at one point in my life, because as I foresaid, I was a drug dealer and a gangster. So obviously, I personally had succumbed to the greedy nature, the lower nature. I gave myself over to negative energy forces. And this is the reason why I believe in that, because I was not raised to be that way. Okay? Contrary to popular belief, I did not get engaged in criminal activity because I was raised to be that way or somebody forced me into being that way. No, unfortunately, it was just like the story about Judas, okay, where Satan crept in his heart and he betrayed Yeshua. Okay, that's what happened to me. Okay, that wicked negative energy force, which some of us want to call spookism, and they think it's a joke. Okay, I experienced this activity, okay, and I'm here to tell you firsthand that no, it's not. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to persuade you, because this person right here had a personal experience and encounter with a dark force. Okay? So some of these things that we're dealing with, spiritually, we're dealing with some things where there literally is spiritual forces that have attached themselves to and in a person that's driving them to do the things that they're doing. Okay? Now, with that being said, that's a part of the reason. Okay? And the other reason is because some people were actually raised that way, because their aunties and their uncles and their cousins and their brothers were riotous and reckless. They were neglected and given away as an adolescent. And so it influenced the way that they think, not to value life, because that's all they seen was greed. Okay, drug dealing, gang banging, okay, stealing and robbing. Okay, and I'm here to tell you firsthand, this is not something I'm making up. I'm talking about, I knew families in my projects that were just like that. Okay, I'm talking about their mama was foul, their daddy was foul, their aunties and their uncles were foul. Okay? And I'm telling you right now, a good example was absent in their presence. And all of them acted just alike. All of them talked alike. They thought alike. They were troublemakers. I'm quite sure some of you out there can relate to what I'm talking about. Those of you who grew up in that type of atmosphere, I know some of you can relate to what I'm saying. That there are some families that were well known for being troublemakers. And even the police force knew them well. Okay? Knew who the family is. Soon as they heard the family last name, oh yeah, we know where they live at. What's their demographic? I mean, what's their location? Oh yeah, that family. So the question is, how can we get love into our communities? How can we move away from not thinking about ourselves to thinking about ourselves? And family, I submit this to you, although it may be a simple answer, it's easier said than done, because people are dealing with things internally. Okay? Again, rape, molestation, and all these things like that. So this is the reason why this program, and I said this before and I say this again, this is a deliverance ministry. I'm very serious about that. Okay? I'm not really concerned about somebody who thinks that I'm in bondage because I don't follow after a particular religion. Okay? That's neither here nor there to me. Okay? I know what true freedom looks like once I was liberated in my mind. Okay, and I know that it's going to take accurate information and implementation of it to bring transformation within our communities. And we're going to have to deal with these spiritual issues that we're dealing with. We're going to have to deal with the natural issues that we're dealing with. Because alcoholism, okay, and drug addiction plays a big role in the social ill within our communities. Okay? The mental abuse, the physical abuse. It's the conglomeration of all these things. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I've seen families torn apart over alcoholism and drugs. Okay, so I'm not just talking about something I experienced on the news or okay, indirectly my friends, although I did. However, no, I experienced this personally in my own life. I experienced abandonment. I seen what drugs can do to your family. Okay, I seen what alcoholism can do to your family. But you know what else I seen? I seen what the power of love and not only just prayer, but I seen action. I seen people who took responsibility over their life. Okay? I seen people make better choices, and then that same family that I seen dysfunctional, the same family are now ministers, okay, of the gospel. Now, I may not be, a religious person, but let me tell you one thing. One thing I will not deny is the fact of them applying wise principles to their lives and making better choices, okay, and follow after morality and dealing with their own personal demons, okay, and stop blaming other people for what they did, okay, and taking ownership for what they did. I've seen lives transform before my eyes, and you listening to one of them. I personally have been transformed because of me following after moral principles. Not just hearing, okay, not just hearing, but implementing the information and seeing it transform my life. To where even my own family members and my own friends see the transformation in my life. The reason why I'm so about the people is because of what I deposit in my spirit. It becomes contagious. See, love germinates instead of hate in my life now because of what I expose myself to. I open myself up to the teachings of the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. I listen to Winnie Mandela. I listen to, peace and blessings be upon them, Dr. John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben Jokanin. I listen to Dr. Amos Wilson. I listen to Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. Again, peace and blessings be upon all of them. I listen to Fred Hampton. I even listen to Maya Angelou. And when I listen to that information, and also the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Minister Elijah Muhammad, when I listen to that information, it made me confront myself. And the truth is like a mirror. A mirror shows you your reflection of what's really there and shows you what you need to fix. If anything is out of place, is anything on your face, that truth, family, made me confront myself. That truth helped me to recognize that me as an African man, I did not even know my own language. I recognize that I put us last instead of first. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't even recognize. I said, my God, I've never bought anything from a black-owned business in my life. Prior to me listening to all of our ancestors and our elder today, whom is still alive, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Okay? I did not recognize how messed up I really am until I actually confronted the truth. Let Amar talk about Amar today. Not about you. Not about my neighbor. No, Amar is talking about Amar today. When I heard these truths, I recognized that I was mentally ill. I was mentally sick. I had to be honest with myself and say, my God, I don't even know who I am. Who am I? It was like Denzel Washington in the movie Malcolm X. I had a moment right there. I'm telling you, and this is the God-given truth. This is no lie. Okay, listen, I went to my cousin Yosef, and I promise you, family, I cried like a baby. When I really found out who I really am, I cried. I said, my God. I said, for up until that point, it was almost 40 years of my life. I'm 43 now. When I came into the knowledge of the truth, I was 38 years old. 38. In all those years of my life, I did not recognize, I did not know who I knew where I came from. I know I had came from Africa, so I wasn't that lost. You understand? But I just didn't know exactly what people that I came from, because inclusive with that comes culture. And culture is compromised of your spirituality and also how you conduct yourself socially towards your brother and your sister and your elders and the younger generation. See, understand, my family, they gave me a couple steps. You understand what I'm saying? They took me to the stairway of knowledge. They took me to the stairway of wisdom. They took me to the stairway where they only understood. But then when I began to seek for myself, I came to find that I had a whole lot to learn. I've seen how dysfunctional we are on a global scale, just like what's going on now in South Africa, where the Nigerians are being killed by the South Africans, and now they're killing each other over there. Like what's going on over here and what's going on over in the UK. And I said, my God, what is our problem? What is wrong with us? What happened to us? I did not see how messed up we were from being colonized. I didn't recognize that. Yeah, I knew we was in slavery. Yes, I understood we was enslaved. But I did not, because of the way I was raised, I was numb to what actually occurred to us. Do you not know how many times I've seen Roots and it still never kicked in? Huh? This is the reason why the universe leads some of us to be repetitive in the messages that we speak, okay? Because sometimes we don't get it the first or the second time. And I am one of those people who I somewhat started catching on. I got kicked out of class because I said, y'all always playing slave movies when I was in high school. You understand? I got kicked out of class. And that's a true story. That is no lie. I started rebelling against the system. However, I was still incarcerated. I still had some residue there from colonization. From, as Dr. Joy DeGruy so eloquently states, the post-traumatic slave disorder. I like to say disease as well. Because, see, a disease, it spreads, it germinates. And that disease within our social illness, it comes from our mindset. You understand? See, I thought I was following after what was right, and I didn't recognize that I was following after what's wrong because I was persuaded that that was the right way to live. I did not know that I was lost. You talking to a man and you're listening to a man, because some of you talking to me out there, so you're talking to a man, okay, that have been preaching the gospel from the age of 21 years old all the way up until the age of 38 years old, and I still did not know who I am. I was preaching salvation, but yet I was bound. I thought that what I was doing was right when I went into Newport News, Bad News with the gospel, and when I went into the ghettos of Rochester, New York with those things. However, it was not laced with the knowledge of self. See, I needed that puzzle to complete my life. It's a prayer that I pray. And I say, a goon goon, teach me about you so that I may know about myself. Once I learned about my ancestors, then I found out who I am, and then I found my true identity. Because I researched and came in touch with my culture, and then I really woke up and found out, my God, I've been lost all of these years. I've been selling drugs to my own family. I've been trying to shoot my own family. I was stealing from my own family. And family, when I came into the knowledge, even though I wasn't doing that no more, but when it really hit me, understand me, listen, man, when true salvation comes, I promise you, it will break you down in tears. I wept like a baby when I recognized I actually was tearing up my neighborhood, and I was so greedy. I was so greedy that I was willing to sell my own people poison, and it don't matter who it is. Don't matter if they're Caucasian, Hispanic. You know what I'm saying? When you are so greedy that you don't care about life, you don't value life, and the only thing you care about is that money. Listen, you're in a bad place. And family, I was in a bad place. I would shoot you and go sleep at night like nothing happened. And that's the truth. I would doggone there stomp you in the ground and would go home and be all right. I would steal from you and have no conviction whatsoever back in the day when I was younger. With no regard. I was hard in my heart because I had opened myself up to these negative energy forces. And so a lot of our people are possessed by this mindset and by this negative energy. You see? And the only way that we can get rid of it is being purged and being detoxed by the right teaching to help to transform our minds. You know what? We may hear this time and time again, but it still need to be said. It need to be rehearsed in our ears until it take root. We will never, ever be in a position of winning as a people until we unify. I will continue to say this, and I will continue to say this until it's my time to transition and enter into the ancestral realm. A kingdom united can stand, but divided we fall. The universe commands blessings where there is unity. I promise you, family, why we are so dysfunctional, why we're so messed up, first of all, because of what we've been taught, absolutely. But also because we're divided, and we're divided because of what's in our minds. You live the way you think. The reason why we don't have any type of thought, any of our people that become wealthy to go back and to invest in the community is because we're taught to be selfish. We're not taught to pour back into the community. Could you imagine where our people would be at today if every household taught that? Could you imagine where we would be if every household taught financial literacy? Could you imagine where we would be if we understood the importance of home ownership and being entrepreneurs and starting our own businesses, far as medical, being lawyers, being electricians and engineers and architects, and going back to our community with our skill set? Also agriculture, farmers, having our own farms, growing our own food, making our own water, like the Black Liberation Movement does down in Coldwater, Mississippi. Could you imagine? Listen, gangster rap would never have even existed if we was really taught to love each other like that. Do you understand? We would never have to ask our enemy for anything if we thought that way. If we had our own best interests at heart. Listen, family, do you understand how many parents will be at those parent-teacher conferences? Do you understand what would happen if all mothers and fathers cared about their children's education? Could you imagine where we would be if we would hold this government accountable? If we all stood together, the reason why I'm telling you right now, family, I promise you this. The reason why, because we only have a handful of us that think this way. It is not enough. Of us that think this way. It is not enough. Could you imagine if every school taught economics, not only at home, but even in school? They learn accounting, not when they got in college. Could you imagine if we had financial literacy in our curriculums, inclusive with mathematics? Not just learning how to add and subtract, but to learn about investments. Could you imagine if every household taught those type of things, our own history, our own culture, financial literacy, the importance of family, being family oriented, to love your neighbor, to respect your elders? Listen, sometimes I think it's okay to go back to the old time way. I'm not saying go back to the time where, we had to send letters on a horseback rider. No, I'm talking about the time where we loved each other and we knew who we are. Okay, we knew where we came from. We knew our culture. I'm talking about going back to that time where we understood family and that we didn't see each other as enemies. I'm talking about the time like when I grew up, if your mama or your daddy found out you was being disrespectful to an elder, you would get your behind tore up. And in fact, the elders would put their hands on you. Now, I may not be that old, but understand me, in my neighborhood where I grew up at, those elders would get a hold of you and tell your mama, tell your granddaddy, and tell whoever on you. And in fact, we had a neighborhood watch crime where we didn't allow crime to come in our neighborhoods. I remember that plain as day. I'm talking about Caucasians, Hispanics, Africans. They would not allow drug dealers and they would not allow gangsters into the neighborhood. Listen, it got so bad for the criminals to where they killed the lady because she was getting them locked up so bad. And it's a true story. Miss Rita, I will never forget her. She was fighting against criminal activity. She would love on us little African kids. She wasn't even African. She wasn't even African. She would have block parties for us and feed us and show us love. She used to give me money to go to the store. And listen, I thought she was crazy. I said, you gonna give me this money to go to the store? You don't know me. She said, I watch you, young man. She said, I see you. I know who you are. She said, I know who your grandmother is. She said, go to the store, bring this back for me and buy yourself something. And I did exactly that. But guess what? The haters, the true troublemakers, hated her and they killed her. She wasn't really a troublemaker, but she was a troublemaker for them because they couldn't, be chaotic and allow that chaos to go freely in that neighborhood without her being there. So they took her out. So family, with that being said, it's a very simple answer to the title of this message. We got to be taught into this mindset. And listen, I'm not saying that I'm saying anything so deep. You understand? I don't look at what I say so deep because what I'm saying is nothing any different than what our ancestors have said before me. But we must come to the knowledge of self and we must take back a moment and we must start paying attention to our people are sounding like a broken record. Now think about that. The Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said the same thing I'm saying years ago. And we're still saying the same thing today. Our ancestors' spirit and blood is crying out to awaken the conscience of the African man and woman. We got to pay attention to the fact we're still saying the same things. Every single solitary year, I hear all liberators in the movement saying the same thing all the time. So work is still need to be done. Work still must be done. Why? We still got our young people out there on the street corners dying. We still got, broken families. So work still need to be done. There's not enough of us that own manufacturing businesses and movie theaters and doctor practitioners and lawyer practitioners. There's still not enough of us in position in government. And I don't care what nobody says. Okay? I don't care what nobody says. You need people, whether they look like us or not. And you're not going to hear many African liberating people say what I'm saying. But me, I got enough sense to understand this. You still going to need, whether they look like us or not, you're still going to need somebody in political power who is moral. Period. Until we get people in position that are moral, we're going to continue to fight the fight that we're fighting. Because guess what? They're only going to serve up to at least 2 terms. Up to 2 terms, and that's it. And once they leave, somebody else is going to take that position. And guess what we have to do? Just like what happened when Trump took over. He's going to try that, he or she, that's racist, is going to try to overthrow everything that the moral person had did. This is the reason why when you had certain laws in place that were there to protect the African, this is the reason why we still have to fight, because you have immoral people who got a corrupt heart in position. Understand this. When the righteous people rule, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people mourn. The reason why the African man and woman and children mourn today, because we need righteous leadership. Understand this. I'm not limiting it to, I dare not do that, to political arenas. I'm talking about even in our households. There's mourning in the community because of the corruption of the elders in the community that's supposed to be raising the young people. You got a bunch of perverts that's out there. You got a lot of older men that's out there that's influencing the young men to tear up their community. You got people that compromise over money. They love money more than they love themselves. We see it all the time. So when will we ever see transformation? When we start loving ourselves more than money and start loving ourselves more than other people. There's money to be made in our community. Who owns those apartment complexes that we live in? You must understand, and I have to break this down for some of you who don't understand about how HUD works, but you must understand that HUD is a government program. It does not necessarily mean that it's owned by the government. So every HUD program facility is not always facilitated by somebody in the government, because those who are real estate investors know this, that you just have to simply qualify for that home to be put on HUD. Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask you the question again. Who own those apartment buildings that we live in? Who own the gas stations that we go fill up our vehicles with? Who own those restaurants that we go to? Because I'll be doggone that there's a Chinatown near New York City. You understand? I seen Chinese restaurants in I'm from New York, okay? Upstate New York, Rochester, New York. And right there at the street corner where it's a predominantly African neighborhood, you have an Arabic person that owned the corner store. You got a Puerto Rican that owned the corner store. But then we get mad. We get mad when our neighborhoods get gentrified. You understand? But see what the problem is, family, and people keep saying that we sound like a broke record. It's the reason why we do. Because people keep complaining. So we got to keep bringing to your attention to help you to understand the reason why we keep going through this is because we don't love ourselves. It's simple. The properties that my wife and I that we own are in the so-called hood. Yes. Except for one. One is in a middle-class neighborhood, our property in Florida. Okay? But our other two properties, but it's a middle-class African neighborhood. It's a middle-class African neighborhood. And the other two is borderline middle class, somewhat low income, borderline, it's borderline. But we have properties in our own neighborhoods. Why is it that we think that we can't do it when you got Caucasian people that own properties in our own neighborhoods? Some of us, they're going to tear this up. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. It's not stopping the Arabic person. It's not stopping the Puerto Rican. It's not stopping the Chinese man. So the reason why we lack, you know what? The reason why we lack is because we don't invest in ourselves. We have been taught to ignore our own cries. We have been taught to ignore our own pain. We have been taught to ignore our own culture. We've been taught to ignore our own spirituality. We've been taught to ignore what had truly happened to us. Because a lot of us don't want to deal with the pain and the anger that really it would cause us if we really start meditating on what really happened to us. And a lot of us keep running away from what's really going on. You know the reason why the problem hasn't been solved? You know why? Because we keep running away from the problem. If you are sick and you never get the cure, then you're going to continue to be ill. Now, some people know where to go to get the remedy. I've heard some people say this with my own ears in the natural sense. Well, I don't want to give this up. See, that's the problem. We don't want to give up selfishness because we scared to experience pain, the pain that it feels like to love your people and they don't love you back. Let's just be honest. Let's just put it on the table. Okay? I hear so many lame excuses about why we don't want to pour into our own community. I don't believe in not throwing out the life preserver when I see my people drowning. Now it's up to them to accept that life preserver and to continue to drown in the social ills that we have. It's up to them, but I dare not know what the problem is and not present it to the people inclusive with a solution. Not just to highlight the issues. No, we need a remedy for the issue. And the healing of our social ill stems from proper teaching. We have to be taught how to love each other. It's not wasting our breath. Do you understand where I would be at today if I didn't hear what I'm hearing right now? I would still be lost. In fact, you know what? I'd probably be stealing your stuff. You know what? I'd probably be out there tearing up our neighborhood still. I'd still be out there selling drugs and gang banging. Had not I heard this more than one time. We don't pay attention to our hands are out to only receive, but never to give. We don't pay attention to that. Family, I'm telling you what I know. I deal with African entrepreneurs and I have to check them in love. Bruh, sis, you always asking me to do something for you, but you never are there for us. We don't see it. I'm not just talking just to talk, family. I'm saying it's because I care. To hell with being popular. This is a matter of life and death. Our people are becoming extinct. Look at the time of Black Wall Street and now. How many businesses do we own now? Do you not understand? We had trains, we had planes, we had fleets of buses. Dr. Claude Anderson family owned fleets of buses. We had restaurants. We had manufacturing companies. We had banks. Do you understand how serious this is? This is not a joke. We are a lost people. We got a judge hugging a murderer. We got a brother hugging the one who murdered his brother. And we do this all in the name of religion. That religion has made us docile. That religion has enslaved us. I don't care how free you think that you are. I'm telling you what I know. You're not as free as you think you are. Because little do you know, our ancestors fought for the freedom of our people. The Maroons fought. Shaka Zulu fought. Nat Turner fought. Dewey Boatman fought. Winnie Mandela, she fought. Some of our ancestors fought to the death, not to lose the footing, not to give up 1 inch to a colonizer. And guess what? I don't care how much of a rule that they have of this government over this country. This is not their damn country. They stole his land. They stole the land of our people over in Africa. And brainwashed Negroes sit here and say, oh, you just don't want to go back home, African. Dude, my ancestors are Cherokee too, okay? My wife's ancestors are Blackfoot, okay? And damn it, last time I checked over in Africa, in South Africa, we killing each other. So what the hell are you talking about? You act like going over to Africa is going to solve all our problems. Hell, what did Marcus Garvey say? He said, some of y'all not no good over here. If I take your black ass over to Africa, you still going to be doing the same thing over there. Nothing. When are we going to wake up and understand it's not about a geographical location, but it's a mindset? You could take a thug from over in America, and if that thug mindset has not been transformed, you could drop that thug off over in Africa, and they still going to be thugging over in Africa. It has nothing to do with the geographical location. It has something to do with the mind. This is just as equally our land. For those of us who have indigenous blood in us, this is equally our land, just as Africa is our homeland. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. And do some more research before you start talking. We have to get transformed up here. The reason why we're each other's enemy is because of our mindset. The reason why we don't think about each other and we become second in each other's mind is because of the mindset. The reason why we don't think African first is because of the mindset. And then we're brainwashed to believe that just because we think African, we talk African, that somehow is negative. Somehow we're being racist. Hell, we don't even know the difference between what's racist and what's not. Last time I checked, that's taking care of my own family. When the hell did that become a sin? Riddle me that. We don't understand how foolish we sound. And we sound foolish because we've been taught into thinking like a fool. And that's very evident when we think that it's okay to hug our enemy, to embrace our enemy, to love our enemy. Hell, if you know a robber is at your door trying to break in the house, I don't know nobody in their right doggone mind gonna open up the door and let the robber in. Huh? I'm gonna say it again. If a robber is at your door and they coming with a gun, are you gonna open up the damn door talking about Jesus loves you? You got a bunch of fools out there with the Bibles, right? Like the ones with this church with these snakes. Talking about we shall not pick up any scorpions and serpents. Nothing shall harm us. And they ass dead as a damn doornail. In fact, one of the Asian guys jumped in the lion den. The lion almost mauled his ass to death. He almost became a Chinese dish. See, what happens is religion makes you lose your common sense. Last time I checked, there's nothing wrong with me feeding my grandchild. Huh? Would you ever question me? Why am I feeding my grandchild? Would you ever do that? Who out there will ever ask me, Brother Mar, why are you feeding your grandchild? What type of dumbass question is that? That's how foolish we sound and that's how foolish we look and sound when we look at each other weird and we ask the question, what about other people? We sound like a bunch of fools. Nobody questions the person who want to save the life of the turtles about any other animal. Why they're not saving any other animal? But when we focus on saving the life of an African, we get all type of questions. We get all type of damn labels. That don't make any sense for anybody to ever say that we are wicked for being ourselves. That's what it sounds like when our spirituality is demonized. Let me tell you the reason why I have a problem with religion. That's why. That's why. That's why. When you disrespect my culture and people don't understand the reason why I get so upset, not at the person, okay, but at the fact that teaching disrespects our African culture. While their Eurocentric culture is being praised, nobody see anything wrong with dressing like a European, talking like a European, honoring the Europeans' ancestors who died for their European Independence Day. Oh, for Memorial Day. Nobody see anything wrong with that. But soon as the African want to honor his ancestors, it's a problem. This is the reason why I kick up so much dust about that. There's nothing wrong with them paying homage to their ancestors. And if for damn sure, there's nothing wrong with us paying homage to ours. This is the reason why I fight so hard. This is the reason why I rebuttal so much and I rebel so much. Hell, that flag was created during the time my ancestors were still slaves. That's the reason why I won't bow down to that damn flag. They ain't do a damn thing for us. They didn't do nothing for us. Do you understand, African? Not a damn thing. But you call people like us extremists. Hell, was it extreme when they bombed our people, when they raped our people? Why don't you call that extreme? When they stole our property and tried to sell it back to us? Hell, why don't you call that extreme? You don't see nothing wrong with George Washington being taught to our children? Do you understand the year when this government was constructed? It was in the same year that we were still slaves. Which means that all the presidents up until the time of Abraham Lincoln when he wrote the 13th Amendment, which that still was still vague. Up until that point, and up until the point of the Civil Rights Acts and the Equal Employment Opportunity Acts. Do you understand? Up until all those points of laws against discrimination, all those presidents, up until the points before the ones who did that we were still facing discrimination. I don't give a damn if we do have more opportunities than what we did back then. Hell, our people still being killed. Damn war not over. It's not over until they stop killing us. It's not over until they stop redlining us. It's not over until they stop gentrifying us. And it's not over until, and I bet not ever hear no African person in our spirit ever say, give us reparations for the loss of the lives of our ancestors. That don't make no damn sense. How in the hell can they pay you reparations for the loss of a loved one? They can only pay us back monetarily for the land that they stole, okay? And for our ancestors working for free. Hell, that's the only reparations they can pay us back for. And they better not ever prep their mouth and ever say to this African man, oh, we're going to pay you back for the loss of the lives of your ancestors. I say the hell you can. Don't you ever disrespect me like that and my ancestors like that. That's a damn indecent proposal. Oh, let us pay you back. Hell no. The one who killed us, kill them. Put their ass in the chair. That's the only thing you could do for me, a life for a life. The only thing monetarily you could do for us is pay us back for all the years of work our ancestors did on those plantations that you never paid us back for. The only thing you can pay us back for is the property that you stole and the land that you stole. That's the only damn thing you can ever pay us back for. What the hell is we talking about? Reparations for the loss of lives. That we sound like a bunch of damn fools. That mean that we can be bought, people. Not this African, you can't buy me. Don't vote for no African that did nothing for the community until they was trying to get voted for. See, this is what I'm saying. This is a long one, but I had to put it out here, family. I had to release. I had to let it go. I had to get it out of me. No African that has done nothing for the community prior to them running for office is worthy of our vote. No European or Hispanic or any other ethnicity who has done nothing for our community prior to them running for office is worthy of our vote. Hell, they're not even worthy of our support. Hell, I'm going to support you for what you did for our people. You want to come and ask us to donate to your program. What the hell you saying to empower the African man and woman and children? What the hell you doing on social media instead of you trying to get likes and love-its and subscriptions? Where's your charity at for the African? The only people who get my dollars is those who do exactly what I foresaid, show support for their fellow African man. Because other than that, I'm going to hold you accountable as an African. We have to understand that being African goes outside of our immediate family. We are one people with one voice, with one heartbeat. We have one mother, and that's Mama Africa. And the only enemy we have, the enemies that we have, is the corrupt mindset. That should be our enemy. We should be trying to get rid of that enemy. And the racists. Those are the enemies. Those are our true enemies. Lies is the enemy, and the racist is the enemy. Those are the only enemies I see. I don't see color. I see action. And anybody that looks like us that's trying to take these type of systems down, that's for the African is the enemy. And then we'll take you out just like we'll take out the one that don't look like us. And sometimes, unfortunately, getting rid of the problem is getting rid of brainwashed sellout Negroes too. It's a damn shame you got a Caucasian young lady in Charlottesville that laid down her life for a people that's not even hers. And we won't even lift a damn finger to do anything. You got Father Flagler, who is not even an African, fighting for our people, and we'll sit home quiet, scared and shook. Let me help you understand something. The little bit of taste of liberation we had today, it took bloodshed. It took sacrifice. This is the reason why I get on these uppity Negroes who are entrepreneurs who are afraid to say something because they're afraid to lose customers. Well, hell, if that Caucasian person and Hispanic person don't want to support you, then guess what they are? They're a bunch of damn hypocrites. If they believe in liberty and justice for all, then when you speak out against injustice, their dollars should still be sold into your business. And they should still be a customer. Any African that runs away from a liberator is a hypocrite and a traitor. And that's the bottom line. And we have to be taught this mindset. We have to become fighters and lovers. We must understand that. We must understand that. We must understand that. Even the very Bible that some of you read tells you there's a time for peace and there's a time for war. We have to take the position sometime as warriors. It's a time for love and it's a time to hate. And anything that brainwashes the African, anything that's there for the demise of the African, we should hate it and we should fight it. And we should have no regret. of warring against it, even if it costs us our life. Peace, love, and power. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for hanging in there with me and allowing me to share this information with you. Listen, this is a family affair. Okay, last time I checked, when you have a family meeting, when I grew up, nobody outside of that family could be in there. Okay? Nobody outside of the family could be in there. And we need to understand, sometimes we need to have family meetings. Business is business, I understand. But there's sometimes you got to break away from the business world, okay? From the everybody situation and get with just your people type of situation. And table the matters of your people. I understand when you sell products, it's for everybody. Got that. But we should never, ever, ever compromise self to gain wealth. Never, ever, ever, African man and woman and young people, should you ever compromise self to accumulate wealth. Be blessed.